It has been a very difficult year for beef farmers, suckler beef farmers in particular, across the country. And I was just surprised with the response that I received to a parliamentary question that I tabled to the Minister for Agriculture, which I received last week, regarding the operation of beef grading machines in meat plants across the country. In the last 2 years, the Department of Agriculture inspectors have found 21 beef grading machines to be working outside the rules set out for the operation and manual grading of these carcasses was immediately introduced in all cases. What is interesting about these figures is that while there were 21 machines taken out of operation in meat plants in the last 2 years by the Department of Agriculture, there were just 4 weighing scales taken out of operation during the same period by the National Standards Authority of Ireland, who regulate weighing instruments in all meat processing facilities across Ireland. These figures will add to the concerns by farmers regarding the accuracy of the grading machines, which is compounded by the complexity of the beef carcass classification scheme itself. With the development of technology, it should now be possible for farmers to be supplied with a digitised image of the carcass of each animal on the actual day of slaughter. Last week I received a reply back from the Minister for Agriculture, where I asked him, in those 21 instances, the number of carcasses that were rechecked prior to the Department identifying the misgrading of those carcasses, that were actually rechecked by manual graders back to the last known point of accuracy of that particular machine. The Minister in his response said to me that there is no mechanism to permit an officer to pinpoint exactly when the machine went out of tolerance. There are control reports done on a weekly basis by the supplier of these machines to the meat plants. But these control reports do not provide reports on the miscalculating of grades. Now, what I find interesting is that is the standard that's set out by the Department of Agriculture here. However, if you go to your counterpart in the United Kingdom, the rules there are that the operator must check each machine on a daily basis and must keep daily control reports on the automated grading, specifically including any faults or inaccuracies and what actions have been taken where necessary to address them. So in the UK, these machines are checked on a daily basis and inaccuracies recorded. Here, they're checked on a weekly basis, but those inaccuracies are not recorded. So in Ireland, 1 week's full kill of animals could go through an inaccurate grading machine where the grading is at least 1, if not more, subclasses out in relation to that grade. So what does this mean in plain English for farmers? In relation to those 21 machines, the miscalculation of grades was at least 2 subclasses. So to give an example in relation to that, if you take an O+4 bullock, and that grade changes because of the miscalculation to an O-4 bullock, they lose the 18 cent less on the grid. They lose 12 cent less in relation to the quality assurance payment, and if that's an Angus animal, they lose 10 cent Angus bonus. For an average weight bullock, that's €139.60 of money that is being taken out of hard-pressed beef farmers. Right, just finally, the other example is if you go from an O equals to a P plus, that's 24 cent less, or €84 of a loss to farmers for the same animal.
Minister.
Thank you, Ceann Comhairle. Thank Deputy Naughten for raising the topical issue, and apologies, Minister Creed is actually travelling to Turkey to meet his counterpart over there with regard to live exports. There are 32 slaughter plants in total in Ireland, with 23 carrying out mechanical grading. There were 1.8 million bovines classified in all plants in 2018, with 1.6 million of those mechanically graded. Commission implementing Regulation EU 2017-1184 of the 20th of April 2017 governs the monitoring of carcass classification, carcass presentation and weighing. It specifies how the on-the-spot checks shall be carried out in all slaughterhouses applying compulsory carcass classification. According to this legislation, on-the-spot checks shall be performed in all slaughterhouses which slaughter 150 or more bovine animals per week, at least twice every 3 months. The legislation stipulates that each on-the-spot check shall relate to at least 40 carcasses selected at random. In 2018, my department conducted almost 550 unannounced on-the-spot inspections in the 32 factories on classification, carcass presentation and weights, 616 in 16 and 628 in 17. This is an average of 20 inspections per factory per year, which significantly exceeds the legal minimum requirement of 8. The controls applied in Ireland are significantly in excess of those required under EU law. These on-the-spot inspections are carried out by a dedicated team of specialised staff in the beef carcass classification section within the department. Since January 2019, the department has implemented further monitoring. From that date, my department's veterinary public health inspection staff in the factories provide a supporting role for the beef carcass classification staff. This should provide further assurance to the stakeholders that the appropriate dressing specification is being applied in factories. Regarding grading checks in particular, the unannounced inspections verify the ongoing accuracy of the automated beef grading. The mechanical classification method must operate within legally defined tolerances at all times. The tolerances are defined within the EU legislation. If the machine is found to be working outside of EU-defined tolerances, the factory is instructed to revert to manual grading immediately. The factory must then arrange for the machine to be serviced, and a subsequent classification check will be conducted by the department officers to confirm it is within the legal tolerances before it is returned to mechanical classification mode. All manual classifiers are licensed by the Department of Agriculture, Food and the Marine. Where manual grading is instigated, this is advised to the farmers through their remittance docket. Regional control staff in terms of carcass classifications ensure that the standardised and harmonised procedures apply. There are detailed procedures in place outlining the conducting of an inspection and the protocols for dealing with issues as they arise. Standardisation exercises also occur twice per year with Dail Eireann in Northern Ireland, where the same classification machines are in use. This is to ensure standard approach to inspections across the island. In addition to the EU Commission visit Ireland periodically and other member states to ensure standardisation across the EU. So in conclusion, Count Corla, I am satisfied that the controls carried out by the staff in the department regarding carcass confirmation, carcass trim and weights are fully in line with EU legislation, and there is a robust inspection monitoring and control system with the number of inspections conducted well in excess of the requirements set down in
Thank
EU
you, Minister.
regulation.
Deputy Naughten.
Can Corla, I have absolutely no doubt about it that the standards that are being used here in the inspections comply with EU law. That's not my question. What I'm looking at here is that there are standards put in place and a level of inspection put in place to protect suppliers, to protect farmers that are actually supplying cattle to these plants. That's what I'm looking for. In the UK, there are daily inspection reports carried out. The faults are recorded, the inaccuracies are recorded, and they're available for inspection. Here, there's only a compliance report done once a week. It's done by the actual manufacturer of the machine, and they don't record these miscalculations. Now, I've given an example where a farmer can lose out €139.60. That's the difference between putting bread and butter on the table and not doing it. Beef farmers have their backs to the wall at the moment, and we need to look at how we can actually protect them, not just comply with EU law. Minister, just 12 months ago, your department supervised the trialling of new grading technology, which were using better cameras, better technology and providing more accurate grading. Martin Coughlin in the Farming Independent this week pointed out that the current grading machines underscore both R and U grades. In the 2 years after the introduction of mechanical grading in 2004, the number of R grades reduced by a whopping 1/6. 14 years ago since those machines were introduced. That was 3 years before the iPhone first came on the market in 2007. These machines are outdated, they're obsolete. And I believe that we're undergrading cattle, taking money out of the pockets of hard-pressed suckler farmers, and these machines need to be replaced immediately.
Minister to conclude, please.
The Deputy raises a couple of points there. One is about, in his earlier contribution, about that it should be possible to have a digitised image of the carcass available to the farmer on the day. I wouldn't disagree with that. I'll be sending a load of cattle to a factory fairly shortly myself, and I'd be very happy if I had an accurate readout. Just slight contradiction with respect. One is in the UK they do daily checks, but are they with the new machines or the old machines, the current machines that we have here? Personally, I think information should be able to travel and automatic checks. So I'll just give you an example of a company that's able to monitor the energy use from Enniskerry in County Wicklow of multi-storey buildings in Dubai. They can switch on and off the heat by monitoring. AirGrid do it. Everyone can do it. This sort of centralised control. So if EV in Germany are the company that are actually in charge of it, sophistication since 2004 should allow ongoing monitoring. I would urge that everybody sits around. We have set up a beef forum, a round table group. People have decided not to join it, not to engage in it, and I think we need to get everybody around the table for transparency, so that we understand how that the system of grading, the system of pricing, and in going further, that means producers, processors and retailers, so everybody understands. And I think having a sophisticated grading system that has eyes on it by everybody, because health and safety doesn't allow a producer or an owner of animals to follow them down the line the way it used to years ago. So there has to be another way of doing it. And I think we should be aiming to get there, and that's the purpose of having a forum.